Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're cracking open one of the most delightfully deceptive films of the 1980s, Clue. On its surface, it's a madcap screwball comedy with an all-star ensemble, multiple endings, and more twists than a board game box. But what if I told you Clue is more than just Tim Curry's wild monologues and slapstick murder? What if, beneath the laughter, it's holding up a mirror to a moment in American history? That's exactly the argument my guest today has been making, that this movie, set in 1950s New England mansion, but released during the late Cold War of the 1980s, isn't just a parody of murder mysteries. It's a satire of Reagan-era culture and the way we look back at the past. So grab your notepad, don your deerstalker, and get ready to re-examine a film many of us grew up loving. Joining me today is the writer who articulated that surprisingly profound history lesson hidden in Clue's chaos, Julio Capó Jr. I'm Jason Herbert, and this is A Reckoning. My name is Jason Herbert. I'm a Southerner who lives in the West. I'm a historian, an outdoorsman, and a movie buff. I like finding new answers to old questions, and this is A Reckoning. Julio, how the hell are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm missing Florida, but I made a decision that Colorado's my home now recently, so I'm just going with it.
Well, Florida welcomes you back, I think.
Don't say that. Don't. When I come back, I'm coming back to take the throne. I'm going for a coup de herb whenever I come back home. You know the thing about you can take the gun out of my cold dead hands, whatever. You can take the flip flops off of my cold dead, and that might actually happen here in the mountains. So
Colorado's cute. Colorado's nice.
It's all right. It's fine. It's people like it. I keep trying to talk myself. I'm like, there's planes that's gonna take me back. So yeah. No, actually, so I actually really enjoy seeing your posts because of back home and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, cool. We're okay. My people are fine. It's good. Yeah. And then so I'm looking around on doom scrolling on Facebook like a week ago or whatever it was, and I see you make this post. Like, this writing in time. Apparently, you've written in time before, which I did not know about this movie. Dude, you wrote about Clue.
It's such a gem. It's been my favorite movie since I was a kid.
Really?
That and Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. But let's not get into that.
Okay, I just penciled you in for that film, by the way. You can't drop that and me not immediately make a note. Go. Got him. So
as that reveals, I'm obviously very highbrow, and
same.
It just goes way over your head, just way over. Clue is just so funny, and I'm excited to talk all things Clue, and how I think it means something to a generation of us in a way that I hope new generations discover. But anyway, I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Okay, I have been down on generations because now I'm old. And I'm I'm 48, and I'm like, these kids these days, right? And then I look on social media, and they're all discovering the 1990s. They're discovering Alice in Chains and grunge and Seattle. And I'm like, wait, there's hope. There's hope here. So maybe they'll also discover Clue because this movie it's a gem.
It is. It really is. And the actors in it. I mean, it's just how did they get this cast? But anyway, before I get too ahead of myself.
Well, it's easy to sound like the cast because the writing in this. I remember watching this film years ago, and I was a child, right? I so much of this movie, if you're not ready for it, is going to fly right over your head.
Oh yeah,
and I sat in oh my gosh, and the dialogue and the pacing and the pop 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 of how fast the jokes come at this. How could you not want to be in this movie if you're an actor?
And that's true. I mean, also, some of them are improvised. Madeline Kahn's flames on the, I have a shirt that said that. I have a literal. I'm also wearing a Clue shirt. I'm wearing the Clue the music. I am. I had to find it. I had to dig deep in my closet to find it. that was probably like the most prep I did for right now, because I feel like,
most prep
other
for a
than
podcast ever in the history of this podcast.
Finding the right shirt. And in the end, in the back, it says like the right ending, or like, what really happened or whatever. It's from the stage musical, which I also saw like a few years ago, and I highly recommend it. They did a staging of it. It now goes on tour and stuff if you get the chance.
Oh, I'm in.
It largely, it takes the same jokes. It has like it has like new versions of it, but it's really great. Similar with me when I was a kid, the way I got into Clue was my mom. And I went grocery shopping with my mom all the time, which I reminded her of this story after I was really grateful to have the chance to write the piece for Made by History and Time, and I'm one of the editors for Made by History, so I get to do a lot of work with them all the time. And it did really well. Like, it made the rounds, and I'll tell you a really cool story in just a second. But
Please.
I was in Publix with my mother, where shopping is not so much a pleasure. But,
how dare you, sir? Publix is the greatest thing ever.
Well, they're politics. Anyway.
Okay, there's that small part that I feel like a villain, but it's clean. Publix brand. I can get spices.
Sub. Oh, a pub sub. If you've ever had a pub sub, it's really one of the best like sandwiches you can have. I don't disagree. But
question.
Yeah.
If we can get them to sponsor this show, does that make them not bad anymore? Will that offset the other things they've sponsored?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I also hope that maybe we push them in the right direction, and they'll be like, that's it. I know the error of my ways. And I could just eat really delicious subs and everything else. I don't know. And they're constantly changing, right? Like, it's like so many other folks, they have goods and anyway, it's complicated.
Publix. They're like Time. Yes.
Oh, exactly. And it was like this cool thing. So my mom and I were in Publix. I was like 9, 10, something like that. And they had the bargain bin. Remember the bargain bin?
Mm-hmm.
They had a bunch of VHSs in there, and there was a VHS of Clue. And I was an avid reader. I still am, right? But now I read boring books. But before then, I used to read really cool books or whatever. And there was this really cool series in the 90s of Clue. It was kind of like Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yes. I love those.
And you would guess like if you thought, Mr. Green did it, you turn to page 36 and they were like, you got this wrong, go back to the, so it was kind of like a Choose Your Own Adventure. And I was so immersed, and I saw the Clue VHS in the bargain bin. I begged my mom to purchase it. And when I told her the story, like reminded her of this a few, after the piece came out, she was like, I don't remember, but that sounds like me, just to probably, get you to shut up or something. And I was like, that makes sense. And like, and I watched it for the first time, like, 9 or 10. And of course, none of that, like most of the storyline went way over my head, but I just loved, it looked like a bunch of people having fun. And I was really into it. It looked really campy to me. It had all the kind of, bells and whistles that for me made a good movie. And, as I've obviously grown older, hardly, I'm still 9 or 10. I now appreciate it on so many different levels. When I write, I often have something like playing in the background, like almost as like it helps. I don't like silence to write. And I probably had this on loop. I must have seen it 10 times while I was writing this piece. So it kind of just like, oh, that's so funny. That's so fun. And it's anyway, but that's the thing I wanted to tell you. A little story was one of the most validating, I don't know, validating, but something like that. I felt really touched. I got a lot of emails about this piece, and one of them was from the director himself,
Insane.
Jonathan, who wrote me the sweetest email. What a generous person. I can't even imagine to go out of his way to say like, thank you for writing this piece. He told me I was the first person he felt he had read that really got the film. It meant so much to me, but also again, just for someone to take time to like, find my email address and do that takes, he has no need to do that. Incredibly generous. We've been now emailing a little back and forth, and it meant a lot to me. I'm rereading his biography, Jonathan.
We should have him on the pod, you, me, and him.
I bet he would. I don't know.
I'm serious. Why not?
He's a cool guy.
Okay. We have only cool people on this pod.
Only cool people. And then sometimes I squeeze in and they're like, oh, perfect. You could be in here too. But he was good people. And I just thought, like, here's the director of My Cousin Vinny. Like, he did the political satire of Yes Minister, like a really amazing man who's done really cool work. But anyway, that felt really nice.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, first of all, we should absolutely reach out to him because that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, okay, so it'd be like George Lucas, like, oh, hey, Jason, I'm glad you like this movie I made called Star Wars.
Hey, yeah, my friend George Lucas.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I have so many things to get into with this film. And also then like the position of like writing for time, like for the people actually, let's talk about that real fast. I want to sideways on this before I forget about it. Like for our audience, for people who are writing, how do you pitch something to a magazine or to an online place or something like that? How does that work, Julio?
So I feel like lots of people, historians, I think, are really great, have become really great. Maybe that's not something the profession has always pushed for, but with this large push for, public accessibility, we've created a lot of spaces for ourselves, and creating spaces where our audiences don't normally exist, right? Like in like mainstream national newspapers. There's this really great series called Made by History that it's been around for like 7-8 years now. It started in Washington Post. And then it moved to Time Magazine, and it's moving again. I've been an editor for them for about 4 years. I think that's right. So I'm we're a collective of historians. I'm an associate editor. There's senior editors who helped found it. I was not one among the people who founded it. We work with really awesome historians. And like it's such a great way for historians like me and you to I have this really cool story I want to share with you. And one of the things that I love about it is it really always works very hard to make sure that these are history lessons that help us understand a part of our present. Like here's something, you think and something you probably do know, but here's also why it matters today. Like, and there's always that kind of hook and that I think we really stress. And I have to say, for me as a writer, like I'm a former journalist. So before I was an academic, I was a journalist. It allows me to do some of the work that I was trained to do in addition to being a historian. It keeps me active as an editor. I'm always reading the most interesting takes on everything. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with. That's perfectly fine. That's not my job as an editor. I'm just there for, and one of the, like I've written about, Orange Bird, like Anita, this is Orange Bird. If you don't know who Orange Bird is, it's literally on my desk. Because I freaking love it now.
Of course, I know what Orange Bird is. Who are you talking to? We just had this whole diatribe before we started about
that's
our
right,
love
about
for
Disney.
How dare you, sir?
That's right.
Question my credentials.
That's true. You're the Disney fan. I mean, but did you know that before Orange, like when Orange Bird started, its spokesperson was Anita Bryant, right? And like, so I was really writing this kind of story about here's what gay Disney looked like before gay Disney looked like, like the kind of, anyway, it allows me as a historian, and that's true for hundreds and thousands of us now, to tell stories that otherwise may not make an academic article, that may not really fit somewhere, but also, that reaches thousands and thousands of people. It's so way more people have read my pieces in the Washington Post or the Miami Herald or Time than have ever read my book, right? And that's totally understandable, and I'm okay with that, and I think we all are. But and in addition to that, of course, people write to their newspapers. I've written for local newspapers and national papers. So you find the right space for the topic, but important to do it.
Yeah. So first of all, I've actually read your book, and it's fabulous. And I do want to actually tee off on, like, I want to make some connections between your book and this film about the queerness of this movie. There are so many things that I want to ask because I'm not an expert on queerness in film, but you are. And like, these are the fun parts of this conversation where I'm not asking things I already know. I want to explain this to me. And stuff. So actually, let's jump into this when we talk about this, because Tim Curry is like the very center of this film. Julio, whenever I think about Tim Curry's career, I don't think about it, and I actually don't think about Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think about this for me. It's not Congo either. It's this movie for me.
Not Home Alone too.
Not so much. There are reasons why I don't want to talk about Home Alone 2.
Me too.
Until there's an in memoriam section at the Oscars. Can we talk about this cast? You mentioned a little bit earlier that this is like a ridiculous cast. Who do you love in this movie and why?
Oh my God, everybody. Everyone everyone is pulling their weight, right? Like, I mean, Tim Curry seems like the obvious, because in some ways he's kind of leading. I mean, he's neither here nor there, but I have to just tell you the story. I've done drag once in my life. And I can't wait to do it again. And it was for a softball fundraiser. And I was so nervous. This drag is hard, like really, really hard, which I knew, of course. I have such an appreciation for the art form, but I was so nervous and I was scared that I was going to fall, like, because I'd never worn heels. And the one time I did it, I looked so much like Frankenfurter. I can't even begin how much I look like Frankenfurter. So every time I look at that photo, which is now like in a digital frame, I'm like so proud. And I'm like, oh, maybe it was like a secret homage to Tim Curry, who's still around, but he's quite ill. And he's, anyway. Yeah. Tim Curry obviously is like the circus, what's the word? I'm like circus ringmaster, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
He's like really pulling all these people together because he's the butler, he's at the center. And but Eileen Brennan, Mrs. Peacock, is phenomenal. Her subtleties, she's just so quirky. The designer, they did so well with the costuming. Obviously Christopher Lloyd, who had just, a few months before that, Back to the Future had come out. So he was, Doc Brown just a few months before this came out.
I was thinking about that. I was like, who's Doc Brown and Professor Plum in this film. What a year.
I mean, it was a good year for him. He must have he must have filmed them, very close together. Because I want to say Back to the Future came out like in June or July or something like that. And like, it was definitely a summer film. And then Clue comes out in December. So like, I mean, and it was, Clue didn't take a whole lot of time to record. They have all these, it's an ensemble cast. So it's really hard to get, everyone's in almost every scene. So like, it's really difficult to have, obviously you have Leslie Ann Warren, Mrs. Scarlet. Did you know, this is like, Jonathan Lynn talks about this in interviews in the book, I think it's in the book, certainly in other interviews, that the original Miss Scarlet was supposed to be none other. Do you know who this was?
No, who?
Carrie Fisher.
Get out.
We were supposed to have a Princess Leia, Miss Scarlet.
Oh, that would have worked. There wasn't enough cocaine, I'm guessing.
Well, she went to rehab. She literally went
there
to
actually was. Okay, I'm going to hell, Julio.
Like, that's actually like 100% accurate. Like I think they had even cast her. And then there was this opening and Leslie Ann Warren was able to fill in. That's my understanding, but like she was certainly cast. And there was rumors and like rumblings that Carrie Fisher was struggling, but there was nothing confirmed. And then at that point, it became confirmed. But I can't even imagine. It's so strange because I love Carrie Fisher. I mean,
who doesn't?
She's phenomenal and such a comedic like gem as well. But I really think that Miss Scarlet was played by the perfect person. Everyone was, from Colonel Mustard to I haven't mentioned yet because I feel like I want to talk about her forever.
Go.
But to me, it's Madeline Kahn. There is no goddess more than Madeline Kahn. I know we talked a little bit about generation stuff, and I don't know if that was before we press record or after.
Whatever.
But for young people who do not know Madeline Kahn, do your research. You will be so blessed to know. I mean, just Madeline Kahn is everything. She is the subtleties in some of her deliveries. Like there's one scene where she starts to harmonize where he's a jolly good friend. And it's just, like, these are just like, she's just so freaking good. She has perfect timing. Her delivery is always great. She can be deadpan when she needs to be. She can be witty. For me, she is. Tim Curry is up there, but Madeline Kahn is, I don't know. I can, if I have a moment where I have to decide, I don't know who I'll pick, but it's definitely Madeline Kahn.
I keep thinking there's an actress out there who like feels like she would have belonged in here, and I don't know why, Julio. I keep thinking about Diane Cannon as belonging in this film somewhere, and I don't quite know where I would put her, but she feels right. Maybe I'm wrong, but she's like, I don't know. Like,
it's so funny because these are so interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what works so well as a play, right?
That's exactly right. Like, so I knew that Mrs. Peacock, Eileen Brennan, she actually had done a similar comedic, she did a Neil Simon movie that in some ways is very similar to Clue that came out like a decade. It came out in the 70s, 74, 75, called Death by Murder. Again, like a Neil, if you haven't seen, I haven't seen it in years, but it's hilarious. And Eileen Brennan was in that as well. And I think she plays the maid. So like there's this kind of and it's kind of like plays on the archetypes of it's very whodunit, Agatha Christie like, and they bring like these kind of archetypes of detectives, like the Hercule Poirot, like the like these caricatures of who detectives are. And Eileen Brennan plays such a radically different character there, with Maggie Smith is in it, a young Maggie Smith, and it's a really great film that really is a precursor to. It's interesting, like almost like a genre of itself, like comedic whodunits, which makes no sense because whodunits are not, there's not supposed to be multiple endings. There's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be serious and and there's this like whole almost like subgenre of like comedy. Whodunit, which is where I think I would place this.
Well, I'm going to tell you a thing you just put in my head, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to hell again. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the one that does it. This episode is going to be it. I kept thinking about, now I'm thinking about the movie Seven as a whodunit, and a whole bunch of people are running around the house yelling, "What's in the box?
What's in the box?" That one's more serious.
I know. Can you imagine like a whole group
comedic? Not intentionally.
No. All right, let's talk about this film in 1985, because you allude to this in the timepiece, which I'll put in the description for the pod if you're listening in right now. This movie did not do well. It bombed in 85.
It completely bombs.
Do people not get it?
It does not. I think a few things happen. I think the lights just flickered. I don't know if you saw that from my house. It's like the ghost of Madeline Kahn or something was saying like, "Thank you, young gay." I'm gonna call myself
Young Gay. Is that your rap name, Julio? Young Gay.
That's my rap. For bringing back my legacy. No, as if I'm the one who did it. Like no one else knew who she was.
For the record, Julio's drinking water, and I've got a Dr. Pepper. So this is completely.
I'm very healthy. Very healthy.
All right.
Yeah, it didn't do very well. They tried, I think, so when this is released by Warner Brothers, I'm fairly certain it's Warner Brothers in 85, they're trying really hard to make sure that it does well. Like, they do a lot of crossover, for example. They're hoping to kind of make good use of like the rock age and like the music of the era. Jane Weedland, who one of the founders of the Go-Go's, she's the actress who's like dun 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 dun. I am your singing telegram. Like that's her. And of course, Li Ving, who plays Mr. Body, I had never heard of this band, but as I was doing my research, I knew he had been in like a punk band. It's called Fear. I had to admit I didn't know who Fear was. But he plays Mr. Body. It was like this really trying to do crossover stuff and making like audiences who were really into the rock era and really the kind of music of the era also come to the movie. So they made quite a bit of. Also, this is like a little bit I don't know, kind of interesting. That's not Li Ving's voice. If you notice, it's dubbed. And like I guess he didn't like, he was not a good, you can almost see it in his eyes. He's kind of not a good actor.
He's not a good actor. He's kind of the weak link in this film. But
he's definitely the weak link in this film. And it must have been even worse. Like I could only imagine how much worse it was if they had kept his real voice. No one knows who the real, they've asked and tried to figure it out and no one knows who dubs his voice. But if you see his lips, it doesn't match always.
I kind of love that actually.
Me too. It kind of adds to the campiness. It's almost like he's like a marionette or something, or like a puppet or something.
This is so bad. It doesn't matter. We're gonna kill this guy off multiple times.
Like it doesn't even matter, and like which of course it does, but it's so interesting. And then so the whole idea of like having 3 different endings was like the gimmick. Like they thought people would go see the film multiple times, and like the critics hate it, including like Ebert and like, Roger Ebert, and like, and they're all like, it doesn't make sense. Like the whole point of a murder mystery is that there's one real ending that is guessable, right? Like that's what, they sprinkle in some red herrings, like, like to lead you in one direction and to another direction. But the whole point, like, a la Agatha Christie or something, is for people to actually be able to guess, like to like deduce the correct answer. If there's three endings, and there were actually originally four, the fourth wasn't. And the last one, spoiler alert, it's they kind of reanimate it in like a documentary or something. It's Tim Curry's character who kills everybody. But like that it just doesn't seem logical to do a murder mystery that has multiple possibilities or endings. So it's in and of itself like it's not taking itself seriously. It's never intended to, but it's also just part of the campiness and the queerness and the stuff that I love about it.
See, I think that's perfect because whenever you play the game, it can always be somebody different. I mean, that's the whole point. It was Colonel Mustard with the gun and the whatever, right? It's like that's how it's trying to play out.
There's only one real answer, like, and it's the secret card, right? Like, but you're right. But at the end of the day, there is a definitive answer,
right?
So like you can't just be like, oh, but in my head I want it to be Mrs. Peacock.
Okay, so there are actually two films that come to mind, one of which did very poorly at the box office and one did very, very well, that are kind of participatory in this nature, where they're really trying to mimic the source material, right? One is the film Doom, which with Carl Urban and The Rock, where they kind of famously go into the first person shooter thing. And then the movie's not good because Dwayne Johnson might be the world's worst actor. He's awful.
I can see that. I've never seen the film, but that sounds like something I would hate.
It's like, I don't know why Carl Urban isn't the biggest megastar on the planet. Like, they figured him out on The Boys, and he's awesome. And I am like a Carl Urban fanboy. I think he's the best Bourne villain. I don't care. I will die on this hill. You know what film I keep thinking about? It's the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And here's why, right? Remember when Blair Witch Project came out? Nobody knew what was going on. Like, there was this huge thing about, like, did this really happen? This was like pre-internet, pre-smartphone, pre-spoiler.
They to thinking it was a real recording.
It was participatory, Julio. And that's what I keep thinking about this film was like this. It's like, go into the movie to see this. Must have been like, I wonder what ending I'm going to get. It's kind of like now you go on the rides at Disney World. And you're like, if you're rock, and you're like, what music am I going to get with this? Like and it becomes like this different movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why audiences didn't get it. Cause like, I just think this is fun.
I think they would have gotten it if they had spliced the endings in the film. So like, this is one of the things that people I think don't sometimes realize is that the version we saw on VHS or on cable had spliced the three endings together. So we saw it like, this is what could have happened, but and then there's like a definitive ending at the end that feels
here's what
like
really happened.
Right. And it kind of like leaves you like, all right, there's like a solution. You kind of feel like a sense of like finality, which I think helps in like a film. Like there's a conclusion. Like I did my work by watching this and now I get, the reward. And of course that wasn't in the case for the film itself, where like you saw one and you saw another in a different place. And they didn't do necessarily one of the things I kept reading about was that they were actually quite regional. So like a lot of the same spaces often had the same endings. So like you couldn't necessarily go to the theater next door and catch the other one. Like it didn't seem like good marketing and didn't work very well. And I think it mostly confused people. I think at the end of the day, people were like, this is really weird. I don't understand it. Let me not participate.
Yeah. Whenever I think about this, my first love of the film came from watching the endings, like the multiple endings. Right. And it's like, what was fun was like, okay, maybe this happened. And then maybe this happened. And then you got to see Tim Curry like running all over the place like multiple times. It's like a gimmick, right? And then you get the ending. And maybe they just didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, I also think people don't like gimmicks. Like I don't think they love, I think they might like gimmicks if they don't know they're being gimmicked. But like, I don't think everyone wants to go into something like, oh, they're trying to get, another $20 from me or whatever, another 10, like whatever the hell it would be. If you watch 3 versions of this film and whatever. So like, I do think that in some ways it just didn't, for whatever reason, it just didn't work. The formula didn't work. And it got rediscovered by a whole new generation, really like shortly after. and became this cult classic, right, that we love and think about so much today, mostly through the advent of VHS and cable television. And then at that point, they did splice those three endings together. And that was, I think for people, it kind of felt like familiar. It felt like I also wonder how much the content itself, like the people might have been a little more removed from some of the more sharp critiques of the era. Reading it in 1985 or, seeing it in 1985 might have felt really too much, like when everyone's just so anxious.
Well, yeah, I want to get into that because I wonder if people just either turned off by the critiques or they missed the critiques. Because you kind of point out, you kind of have to go back and watch this again to kind of go, wait a second, this is making some very pointed stuff. And maybe this is the perfect segue, Julio, to talk about some of the things that this film is actually trying to say, starting with, like, you pointed, this is a Cold War movie, both set in 1954, but really, as we've talked about so many times in this pod, movies are about the time in which they're made, right?
Sure.
So you want to talk about like the Cold War anxieties expressed in I'm sorry, everybody. We got two historians. We're going to have to bust out the history on this.
You want to talk about to make it interesting.
I know, right? What's interesting about the Cold War? It's all news.
Nothing, literally nothing.
Nothing at all. It's completely gone, and we never need to talk about it. Let's talk about the Cold War.
And I live in Florida. The Cold War never ended. And that's another story. But so it takes place in a New England estate in 1954. It doesn't exactly tell you when in 1954, but it's pretty clearly the
dark
summer.
And stormy night.
Yeah, it's a dark and stormy night. I could tell you why I think it's the summer in just a second, but mostly because then there's this scene where the cook is in the kitchen and you could see her watching. It's like 10 seconds. If you blink, you miss it. She's watching one of the public hearings of Joseph McCarthy, right? The army hearings, where he'll later, a few months after that, he'll be censored by the Senate. But it's this really interesting moment because if you I had, it was not easy for me to catch this, but it was, of course, rewatching it for this piece, where she's just sharpening her knives. It's like the first 3 minutes of the film. I remember it's probably one of his most famous speeches. Later on, of course, he'll be like, "Have you no decency, sir?" Like, this is that speech, right? And she's just casually watching it, she's not even paying attention to it. But if you blink, you miss it. But it's a few months later, of course, and if he would be censored by the Senate. But it's clearly meant to, at the beginning, you hear shake, rattle, and roll. That would have just come out a few weeks before then, in this moment in the summer of 1954. It's so kind of well positioned to put you in the space of McCarthy era America and New England. Everyone's dressed to the nines, and the whole concept of it's kind of I think a pretty smart plot, in screenplay. I think it's actually quite what do you do? There's no plot to a board game, right? I mean, how this was the first film to really take shape by way of a board game. There hadn't been one prior, and to be frank, there aren't really many since then. There's Battleship or something, and
we don't ever have to talk about Battleship.
And I would appreciate that because it was horrifying. I felt compelled to watch it for Rihanna, but it was no other reason to watch it. Awful. But so what do you do with them? So they kind of come up with this idea that all of them have, these really ridiculous names, who's named Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum. And the reason that they have these names, of course, is that these are their blackmail names. They've been blackmailed and these are their pseudonyms, right? That they're assigned to them so that no one recognizes them. And so it's kind of smart. It takes place in this moment of this fear of blackmail, of secrecy, of rising conservatism. There's this moment of fear that someone has friends who are socialists. That's Tim Curry's wife. We find out what's the more complicated, the more you learn. And that, she was, all of them, sex plays a really big role in this film. It's not just Mr. Green. Mr. Green's character is what I really focus on in the piece, because at one point he says, they all have secrets that they're being blackmailed for. Mrs. Peacock is essentially taking bribes on behalf of her senator husband. Professor Plum has slept with, some of his patients. He's a psychiatrist. Miss Scarlet runs a house of ill repute, right? A whorehouse.
When are we going to do best little whorehouse in Texas on this podcast?
Oh, that would be amazing.
We need Dolly. Yeah, keep going. All right.
Who doesn't love Dolly? I think that might be the one person everyone universally loves. But anyway, neither here nor so. Anyway, and so they're all kind of. But sex plays a really key part, and like which think like Elaine Tyler May or something, right? The kind of gender conformity of the era, even within this kind of space that a politics of respectability, of domesticity, of one that really repressive sexuality. But the as so many other historians have challenged, there was this like alternate world where people were like completely challenging every aspect of that. This is the moment of like, the homophile movement, where the first rise of what we think of now as gay rights and kind of gay movements. Of a great deal of feminism and literature and opposition, and finding spaces from women's rights to sex work to visibility in the workplace and employment non-discrimination, to say nothing about what this means for immigrants, for Black folks, for Indigenous folks. This is a moment of also radical change. The 50s is often always read as like a moment of consensus, but among that consensus, like within that consensus, there were also great deals of challenges. And I think that's one of the things I love about this film, is that it's kind of making fun of it, right? Like it's kind of just, winking at all of us, saying like, here's the story, but behind the scenes, there's something else going on. Like that moment, oh my God, that scene where they're all, they have to hide dead bodies, and like they all kind of like make out with like the dead, corpses, which to me is one of the funniest scenes ever. There's this moment where the police is like, well, it's not, they're like, is that awful? And he's like, well, it's not what I would want to see, but it's just people having a good time or whatever. And it's just so funny because it's kind of, to me, winking and nodding to this moment of like, the sharpening of this dichotomy that it doesn't really ever exist, right? Like that is that people are also, there's no question that there's a moment of consensus and lots of conformity, but within that also a great deal of challenges to it.
There's another movie I'm thinking about right now. And here's the cool thing I'm having here, Julio, is we're talking about this movie. I'm thinking about these other movies that are starting to have these conversations as well. And we talk about this like generally forward movement. I mean, there's ups and downs, obviously, in the 50s and 60s. And then it feels to me like the Reagan era becomes actually quite like a backward step in time. I was having this conversation the other day. I think you can probably trace every problem in America right now back to Ronald Reagan. I'm thinking about Dirty Dancing as a critique of the Reagan administration.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good one. Yes, that's a good one. Oh, that's a really, if you haven't done that film, you should get someone to do that film. That would be fabulous.
We did that film.
Oh, you did?
Oh, we did. Yeah. And I did the film with three women, one of whom, Lauren Lesab Shepard, who is one of my dear friends, who I don't know if you follow her. She's amazing. She had never seen the film. She finished watching it 10 minutes before we went on air. And she was like, I have thoughts.
I'm sure. Oh, I have to watch it. I can't wait to.
Oh my gosh.
It's not the film, the podcast.
Well, the three women, Lauren McIver Thompson, Leah Legrone was also on that. I mean, the three women were just like these rock star brilliant women, which
I'm
is
happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's like, it's just wonderful. Oh, dude, we had this wonderful diatribe about Jewish summer camps, which flew over my head.
Yeah,
as an 11-year-old in 1987.
I haven't seen it in so long. I'd have to rewatch it myself. But I'm
How dare you?
So many of these films that like I know, but they're like this is one of the reasons I just love pop culture, is that it works with all of our. I mean, I love pop culture also because like I'm a pop culture diva. I love how I love to take these things seriously because they are serious.
Okay, actually, that actually transitions really, really well, Julio, into a question I prepped you for on the email, which is, talking about pop culture as real history. I was just talking to a friend of mine. I got invited to this conference later in the year, talking about pop culture as a historical thing. And when I started HATM years ago, I still kind of felt weird about movies as history, and not just your not just Gone with the Wind about explicitly historical stuff, right? But Trading Places or whatever. And then over time, my understanding, I look around, Julio, and so many more people, right or wrong, get their understandings of the past from pop culture.
Oh, for sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that in your work as a historian, both in and outside the classroom, and like how you engage with pop culture? And like, do you think actually pop culture engages history better than, say, a book?
Sometimes, I think absolutely sometimes. Like, I mean, I love, and if from my introductory course, like the AMH, 2020, like the, 101 course, to like more, upper division courses, even graduate courses, I bring in so much from pop culture, because this is largely a point of reference for so many people. And I think it allows them to think about um, change over time in ways that seem sometimes much more difficult for them, in like something that seems distant from them, like that is like they can relate to pop culture in ways that they're like, oh, I would have loved that, or I would have understood that, or I would have. It makes it much more accessible and I think manageable. I have been teaching with Clue as like a tool since like 2012. Like I show a clip of Mr. Green almost every semester that I teach LGBT history. So like this wasn't new for me. Like there were some things that I hadn't thought about the same things, right? Like in the same way, but I had been using Clue as a reference for quite some time. And I have to say, sometimes students had references to it and sometimes they didn't, and that was fine. But it was comedic. How many people have written about how comedy serves as such an important source of tension, right? Like where we get to release tension by way of humor, like even forms of anxiety, that like social anxieties come out in ways of comedy. But like to me, the Lavender Scare is like the perfect example. Like that's the reason I teach Mr. Green. It's like, it's a great way of telling people about ideas of historical memory in the first place. Like this would have been very much in people's minds. Like I'm surprised today how few people know about Lavender Scare. I think that's quickly changing. The term itself was like coined by David Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. Like so it's by the book by the same name, The Lavender Scare, in 2004. But historians like John D'Amelio had written about it when this film had already, by the time this film had come out. So like this is something I write about in the piece, is that this field that was then known as this early, gay and lesbian, then known as gay and lesbian history, was really in its early stages. And people were writing about, historians were writing about what now we know as the Lavender Scare, but it would have been very recent in people's minds. There were a lot of these folks had been dismissed from their jobs. Things like Truman's loyalty oath in 47, I get to historicize this. Eisenhower's 1953 executive order that prohibits gay people and others who are read as immoral from being in the federal government's payroll. This is just an important, thousands of people. We know about hundreds of people who were dismissed for certain, and there certainly were more, like people we just don't know about, who simply didn't apply for these jobs out of fear, who might have just left under other circumstances, found new work. And it had like this trickle effect on local government, on state governments. The Lavender Scare is more than just like the expulsion of people from federal employment, like we see with the case of Mr. Green, thought to have been national security risk. And I can explain the kind of logic behind the Lavender Scare in just a second. Like if that's I think
I would love you to, please.
The whole idea is kind of nuts, right? Like, but it had like a kind of cultural logic in the 1950s and 60s, right? That is like this kind of idea that because gay people were read as social pariahs, right? And they were social pariahs. Like they couldn't be open about who they were. In large part, they were criminalized. They, if you were in a gay bar, you could be arrested. You could, lose your job, lose your family. And because of that, there was this kind of, it operated on the same idea of the era's anti-communist fervor and its rampant homophobia. Like they kind of collided. Like this is the Lavender Scare is like the lavender version of the second Red Scare, right? Like, and this is like where we're coming with this. And this idea that like gay people were almost innately bad people. They were loquacious. They were really talkative, so gossipy. Like, so if you just got them to talk, gave them a drink, that they were naturally drunks. Like that they were, if you just gave them a beer, they were likely to just reveal all sorts of information, and just kind of, immoral people, right? So like this is the kind of logic here. And what happens is so many politicians of the era, conservative politicians, but also sometimes people we might read as liberals bought into this as well. In fact, in many instances, that homophobia was kind of natural, like in this space, not natural, but was common, right? Like was just like there were very few defenders, at least public defenders, and of course there are some exceptions. And at this point, this idea that a gay person who was working in the State Department who would have access to confidential information, if and under any kind of circumstances, if someone found out they were gay, like imagine a communist agent, like a Soviet agent, was to find out they were gay, they could then use that against the United States, right? And this is posed in this way, they became national security risk. There's zero evidence that any of this ever happened, right? It was all based on this kind of rampant homophobia and anti-communist moment. But it really did dismiss lots of people from their work and really discourage people from working in the federal government for years and years. And one of the things that David Johnson finds, of course, is that it also helps in some ways lead to a gay rights movement, right? Like people like Frank Kameny, who was dismissed from his job, then begins one of the gay rights organizations in DC and files lawsuits. It's such an important point for actually also building a movement. So in some ways, but it really did by the last kind of explicit prohibition, even though there's still versions of it today, ended in 1975. So it would have been very fresh in people's memory by the time this film comes out in 1985. And they're kind of, again, scholars are starting to write about it. They're taking it as a formal form of scholarship, right? Like that as people are now taking this history and writing it down, which we know is really important to building a movement, to understanding the past, and really kind of work towards healing in the present and future. So it's kind of a key moment for all of those things to happen. And I think it's it's really cool to put those things in conversation with one another and think like there was a lot of memory work happening here and a lot of, really sharp criticisms of what's to come at this point. I can go off on another tangent, but I won't.
Well, I do want you to go off on another tangent, but here's how.
Okay.
I actually want to use this as a counterfactual because in 1985, this film is reflecting concerns about the world around it, specifically Reagan era policies, right, which are really kind of setting a lot of these movements back. Let's flash forward 41 years. Julio, if we're making Clue now, what kind of anxieties are being reflected in the characters that we're seeing now? Is this a queer film? Is this a question about fascism? Like, what are the concerns being shown about, frankly, the Trump administration?
I feel like it's someone out there in the film industry needs to remake not remake because they can't remake this, but they need to make a new version of this, right? Yeah. Like, I think because it much like this 1985 film made in 1985 was looking to the 1950s to help tell a story about the 1980s. A film made today should really be thinking about the 1980s, should take place in the 1980s and really tell us more about today. I actually think you'll find a lot of parallels, whether it's like child protectionism and like, fears of trans people and fear of like predators. And like, there's actually a lot of similar language that you would just imagine, right? Like, there's no question that there's a kind of bigger concern about what's being taught in our schools, like who has control of education. Like, I mean, this is such an obvious way of, much like McCarthy had concerns, like the one clip that you hear in the kitchen when the cook is sharpening her knives is about education, and like the fear of like Soviets infiltrating the schools. I don't think that's a coincidence. And nothing to say obvious, the rise of authoritarianism, right? And what this means for a global order. So many of the things that we would want to find language to articulate our current political and social anxieties, economic anxieties, could easily take place in the 1980s and take shape around, like, people are losing access to life-saving medication, particularly with HIV and AIDS, for example, the loss of abortion rights. I mean, all these things can take shape in this kind of film that is so, I think, sharply critical of this, rising conservatism. I would love for someone to kind of take that on, and see how folks might reevaluate that 40 years from now.
Yeah, I would love to see like a character who is frankly like white presenting, who is trying to make sure no one knows that this person is actually African or indigenous or Yeah, or someone who is purposely acting straight, who is just trying to hide these parts of who they are just because they're afraid of like losing their federal job because of
Right.
DEI or whatever. There's so
Right.
much
Oh,
masking.
it's funny they use the word. I think it's Mr. Green who uses the word "the unmasking of me" at some point. Like he
Right.
says, like I want to be unmasked or something. But the idea of being unmasked is such a clear, or is maybe someone who's trans and who
that's a
is
great
very
one.
clear. But no, it's the DEI is a great example, or someone who might be undocumented, or like I mean the fear of being reported and of being removed, and to say nothing about fear of reprisal of violence or something, right? I mean, the parallels are intense, they're very heightened, and they're very real. And I do think sometimes that pop culture, including film, has a really powerful way of telling these stories that make them much more relatable to folks out who otherwise seem very disconnected sometimes, even though they're not, right? Like every part of their lives is this story, but they can remove themselves. It's a sense of comfort or something, but to make them uncomfortable with the violence that's happening, I think is important.
Well, let me ask you a question that's maybe not so heavy, because I want to get back to the joy of this film. If you had to guess, Julio, which Clue character you'd be at a murder mystery party, who would it be and why?
Oh no, what does that even mean? I want to be all of them.
You got to choose one.
I mean, some like the obvious one might be like as a very closeted gay man. That's a joke. I should be to me one of the funniest. Who knew, right? Like it's like I wear. I'm not. My husband is, and like, but I want to say that like. I want to say that I would have to be Madeline Kahn. I know, it's funny, right? I didn't come up with it. I didn't come up with it.
It's really good.
I want to be anything Madeline Kahn, anything I could associate with Madeline Kahn. She's so fun. But I guess also I'm a professor, but I don't know, whatever. So maybe I should be Professor Plum. But it's such a small part of my identity is to be, I think I want to just be a fabulous Black Widow, like Mrs. White, who kills all her husbands. Not that I don't kill people, but all the best lines are hers. And I don't think that they're the best lines. I think it's the delivery. She's just so perfect.
It's so deadpan, I got to be Wadsworth because I demand to be the center of attention everywhere that I go,
and just running back and forth, you would do a great job. Like you're like, I could see that. Like you would have to, and I feel like you're, as a host of the show, like you're very good at keeping order and like,
It's fun. I just want to do the things, right? The way Curry's running around at the end, I'm not the most, I don't know, when I run. So yeah, I love it. All right. For the very first time, Julio, we are going to have a lightning round on this podcast.
I'm nervous.
All right. So it's the first time we're going to try this. I'm going to give you some questions. You've got to give me a direct response. Ready?
Okay.
Best performance in Clue. No hedging. Go.
Madeline Kahn. It has to be Madeline Kahn. With a very close second to Tim Curry.
Okay. Which ending is your canon ending?
Oh, I don't like this one.
Tough.
The real ending. Do I have time to like kind of say why? Or like
we got all night. Go for it.
I don't know. Because it's like I don't want to ruin your
lightning can be slow. It's the first one. Like they can only get better from here. So just make the bar as low as you want.
Have you ever seen the Agatha Christie, it's not seen. I was a big Agatha Christie, girl when I was, when I read a lot. But
I'm
also
shocked by this.
Right? I mean, like, actually, anyway, so Murder on the Orient Express.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know the story, remove this, like, stop listening because it's like a little bit of a spoiler alert. But the killer, can I say that? Can I say who the killer is?
Dude, it's Agatha Christie. I think we've had time to read it.
In like 100 years, right? Like she's
a little bit.
But the killer is everybody. Everybody's the killer, and like it's kind of this like it's very Agatha Christie that it's a plot twist, and like it's such a brilliant. It is Murder on the Orient. It's definitely Murder on the Orient Express. She has so many that they all kind of blur together. But one of the things I love about the ending, what I read as the definitive ending, which they tell us is what really happened, is that everybody is also the killer. So like everybody, everybody but one, who's Mr. Green, and we find out later at the very end that he's not gay, that he's going home in a very funny way. He's like, I'm going home to sleep with my wife.
My wife. Cut.
Which to me is just so great. But anyway, I like that because it's also kind of an homage to what I really see as the origins of this, and that's like the whodunit and like the kind of when people had like the literature craze for murder mysteries, and Agatha Christie is at the top and center. That's when whodunit gets coined as a term, like by the time the 1930s. So anyway, yeah, long way of saying that.
Most underrated line in the film.
I mean, the most obvious, like the most overrated line in the film is, I hated her so much. Flames, flames, flames. In the side, am I saying it right? I literally have a t-shirt that says that. It's still probably my favorite because it's so perfect. But there's another line from Mrs. White where she says, it was a matter of life and death. Now that he's dead, I have a life. That I think is amazing. Or there's another one where they ask her, am I cheating by giving two?
Go for it.
She has another one. They ask like, what does your husband do? And Mrs. White goes, nothing. He just lies on his back all day. It sounds like hard work. And that's Miss Scarlett, of course, who appreciates sex work and like as the matter.
Right over the head.
Of course, right? And you don't know yet that the reason he's lying on his back all day is also because she killed him, probably. And like, so he's actually just like a corpse somewhere. And like, there's a lot of great lines.
They come so hard and so fast. The part where they're trying to count the bullets in the gun.
1 + 1 + 1 + 2.
I was like, what?
There's another one that you might easily miss. Oh God, where someone says like, you drop men like flies, and Mrs. White goes, flies are where men are most vulnerable.
Oh my God, I died.
There's a lot, but like it's in part because like the dialogue is also moving really quick. Like it's really, really quick. I found when I was writing this piece, I'll say I had to put the captions, right? Like I had to put, because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss like some of the quick, dialogue. And that was one of them that I had missed. I actually hadn't, I had seen this film, not an exaggeration. I've probably seen this film 25 times in my life. Like that's not an exaggeration, possibly more. And it's just so easy just to let something like that be like, the flies or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, and then you realize like she's kind of making like a dick joke and like, or some.
There's a lot of dick jokes in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of dick jokes.
Like, I'm going to expose myself. Please, they're ladies. Right. It's like
they're ladies present. I mean, it's just so funny. And there's also, we haven't really taken, oh my God, I'm going on another tangent. This is what this film does to me. There's a lot of physical humor in this film too. It's like, it really is in every sense of the word, like a screwball comedy. Like there's deadpan, there's physical comedy. Like Tim Curry especially is just like he's racing around in like ways that feel very campy, very alive. Like you feel like you're in the room with them.
Did he have a theater background?
He did. So that's how Rocky Horror started, for example.
That explains it, right? Because when you're on stage, you've got to you've really got to oversell some of the movements and stuff, right?
Oh, for sure. And like the same thing with, I mean, almost all of them have background on stage. And like, if not all of them, I don't think I mentioned it, but if folks haven't seen Madeline Kahn in Young Frankenstein, like that is just like amazing. Like I remember just watching Young Frankenstein. My high school did like a production of it when I was in high school. And then I had to go watch the film because I thought it was just so funny. And then I was like, I thought my, classmates did a great job. I wasn't in theater. So like, I was just like a avid, audience member, eager one. And, but after I saw Madeline Kahn do it, I was like, oh my God, my classmates were terrible. Like, like, not true. But I was like, you can't, I mean, that's not true. They were like 16, right? But I mean, Madeline Kahn is just a genius. Like, and she's, I just feel like we have to treat her as the god. I think I said this already, but treat her as the goddess that she is and was.
If you remake this movie today, we talked about the things that we would change. What would you not change?
Oh my God. My sister's my best friend. My sister and I are very, very close. And my sister and I used to play this game because we both loved this film when we were growing up. We used to play a game where we would like, who would we recast in this capacity? And this is how, anyway, like Brad Pitt always came up and like,
oh yeah.
Today he could almost play someone else, but back then this was like when he was, a different Brad Pitt in some ways, right?
He'd be a good Wadsworth, actually. I think he could sell
Wadsworth. Like, there's some obvious people like who could just do like a Sacha Baron Cohen, like, someone who's just really funny and like, but I or like oh my God, who was the guy from the Steve Carell, who I could easily see being just perfect at anything.
Colonel Mustard.
Colonel Mustard, who would be, he'd be a perfect Colonel Mustard.
Yeah, just recast this. Go for it.
Yeah. Oh my God, like Zendaya as like Miss Scarlet. Oh my God, she would kill that. I think she'd kill that.
Yeah, Miss Scarlet or as the maid.
Well,
I'm just saying this as a red-blooded American male.
She's young. She's almost too young for Miss Scarlet. That's the only thing. But I would love to. I mean,
Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa. Yeah. Have you seen her act?
Or does she need to be friends? I mean, am I paying attention, Julio? When
my partner and I saw her front row. We had like floor seats to see Dua Lipa. She was amazing. She's gorgeous. Was she? Yeah, and her voice.
Yeah, she's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she's fine. She's fine. I don't know. What would I not change? Is that the question? Not change or change?
What would it's moved on. This conversation, this question has now moved on, like this film. So now we're just recasting this. So we've got, so we're going to go Pitt. It's Wadsworth. We've got Carell. It's Colonel Mustard. Who else we got?
I don't know. This is too much.
I don't care. Go ahead.
I could see Halle Berry in like a Miss Scarlet. Like she has like the dignified, like, cause I do think that has to be played by someone a little older than Zendaya. Like I almost want to take it back, but like,
no, you're right. Like a temptress.
Yeah. Like I want to see like a very hyper femme, like, to me, the hardest one to cast is going to be who's going to try to take Madeline Kahn. Like, I mean, that's to me the untouchable.
Okay, so who do you go with? I know who you go with.
Who?
Sarandon.
Meryl Streep.
Streep. What?
It has to be Meryl Streep. I just literally thought of her. I just thought of her. How could I not think of Meryl Streep before? She could do this.
I don't know. I don't know if she's got enough range.
I'm going to pretend I froze. Like,
you're great.
Have you ever seen her in, what is that? Don't Look Up or whatever? I think that's one of her best films ever.
She's so good. Dude, she's the greatest actor of like not her generation, but arguably of the film age, right?
For sure. What I like about this film too, like the original, is that they picked big names, like, right? So like we shouldn't shy away. I mean, in some ways they became bigger names in some instances later or whatever, but like Christopher Lloyd was just becoming kind of famous, but like they went big, and I think that if they recast, they should go big too. Like
DiCaprio as Professor Plum.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I could also see like I want someone who can play kind of kooky for like Mrs. Peacock. Like she might be a good Meryl Streep too. Viola Davis could easily do that. Have you seen her she plays kind of kooky, not almost, like villainous in like The Hunger. I've gone in such a radical different direction. Like this is not the question you asked me, but now I don't know. I love thinking about this. My sister would be very pleased that we're having this discussion.
I'm a little annoyed we didn't invite your sister on. Next time she's coming on, if your sister has a favorite film, she can come on for Romy and Michelle.
She is the most amazing person in the whole wide world, and she should be in everything. My sister, she would kill me for saying that, but it's true.
Extend the invitation, my friend. She's welcome to come on. All right, final question. What board game needs to be made into a film next?
Clue. Again. Monopoly.
That's so easy.
Monopoly.
Right?
It has to be Monopoly. I actually think, and it could do all sorts of fun things for like Atlantic City. Like maybe turn it into like an urban history of Atlantic City, like New Jersey.
Oh, make it dark and crime, like a film noir of Monopoly.
That's not the worst. Or like a critique of capitalism. Like,
didn't they make this called Wall Street? I mean,
like I would love to see like Boardwalk, and it's like, as it gets gentrified or something, like as it gets gentrified. Like tell us a powerful story of I don't know Atlantic City well enough, but like, that's of course where all these street names come from. But like also maybe the Game of Life, where you have to get married to someone of the a man has to get married to a woman and like you have children, and if you do, you win at the Game of Life. But like all the people who didn't win at the Game of Life and then also secretly won the Game of Life, like because they didn't like do all the things you were supposed to do.
I want to see Operation, like just Operation, like really bad doctors doing
when doctors go wild. Yeah, like what happens when no one's looking. Oh my God, at the surgery table.
Yeah, just awful.
When you leave your watch inside somebody or something.
Can you make a full contact Connect 4 film is my question. It's like, what happens?
There haven't been many, have there? I'm trying to think. There's
not a lot.
It's Battleship, really, I think.
Battleship, Jumanji.
I think Jumanji was a book. I remember reading the book first.
Well, yeah, but there's a board game for Jumanji. I think
there is.
And then
10 pages. Yeah.
And there's a few different versions of it. We've got Zathura, which I never watched.
I don't even know what that is. I don't know her.
Yeah. And then if you really want to get technical about a board game, maybe Dungeons and Dragons evolving from that's an RPG. I don't know, but it's the Dungeons and Dragons film is actually a lot of fun.
And I used to play Dungeons and Dragons because I was a cool kid.
Oh my God. My girlfriend has like discovered that like so many adult men are into Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. She had no idea. Yeah, and she's like, what the fuck? She's like, if I have to hear about your Cajun barbarian with a tragic past one more fucking time, Jason. I was like, first of all, his name is Ursius Boudreaux. Okay. And some bad things happened. Okay. And you have to understand it was a rainy night when those trolls attacked his family. She's like,
it's serious, my God. Man, it's serious.
She's like, can I back out now? I'm like, no.
How about Magic? Did you ever play Magic?
I didn't. But is there a Magic movie though?
I don't think so.
I don't think.
Is there? If there is, I never saw it. That would be a cool. It's similar to Dungeons and Dragons. It's like it's
cousin. Like you can go to the store and buy Dungeons and Dragons stuff and Magic stuff at the same store.
Yeah. Aww.
I want to go to the store, Julio, where it has all the things that I'm into. Like I can go in there and there's Dungeons and Dragons and Legos and guns and like and food stuff. And like just completely, just like for a person who has multiple personalities in the same thing, I'm like, this is where I can go.
I get it.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, listen.
That's a good thing. That's a great store you should open one day.
All right, I've got one more thought. Here's the other thing I keep thinking about. Every time I start thinking about this film, right, the scene of it and like in the house, you know what I keep imagining? Mm-hmm. The video to Everybody by Backstreet Boys.
Wow. Yeah, like
I want to do an entire episode of this podcast to that video. I don't know how we're going to fill an hour talking about that, but that's what I want to do. We have to create some people and some really interesting questions.
It's so funny. Can I tell you what my immediate thought to that is?
Go.
I can't remember his name. It's going to come to me. The other writer of this film, John Landis. So it's John Landis and Jonathan Lynn, who's the director.
Right.
Jonathan Lynn directed, and he's the one that I was speaking to. But Landis, when I see Backstreet Boys, Everybody, I think of Thriller. Like it's so clearly an homage in some ways to Thriller. But did you know that Landis also was the director of Thriller?
Yes.
And like, I can almost see why you would kind of put yourself, there is like this kind of dark, choreographed,
right?
Like I could see the genealogy of your thinking here.
It makes sense now that you bring that, because I didn't think about Landis as this, and then that totally makes sense because that video is very much an homage, right?
Oh yeah.
And frankly, it's and people knows I'm a sucker for synchronized dancing. Julio, I will watch, like, you know how people do like the videos at their wedding of people doing the Thriller dance,
right?
Like I will watch that, and now, oh my gosh, and now I'm watching like the Indian dancing videos at weddings and stuff like that, because I'm like, that shit is lit. Can I say that at my age? That stuff is cool. Like the choreography, people get into it. It's crazy. So
you have to be really disciplined. Yeah, I don't have that kind of. I'm not choreographable. I don't have.
No, not at our age, because we're talking about this film because we saw it in its initial run. Right. So, all right. I need for you to think good and hard about the next film we're doing on this pod. My initial thought was like, hey, let's get you and me and Sarah and let's do Scarface. And then it's like that went out the way so we could do this movie. And this turned out to be way more fun.
I'm grateful too that we chose a film that's joyful. Totally. Even though serious, still very joyful. This film, every time I watch it, makes me laugh. And that's powerful that it could do that, all these years.
Absolutely, brother. I'm so glad we could use this as an excuse to get together every time we hang out. I love it. I'm so happy we could do this tonight. So, buddy, thank you so much very much for doing this pod tonight. I was driving back from Boulder, a 3-hour drive today. So excited to get to talk to you today. I'm not a kid, so this is a blast.
Thank you for all the work you do too. I feel like I want to say it all the time. You are like making this important space for folks to talk about important things in a really fun and accessible way. So thanks for the work you do.
Brother, thank you so much. So I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Take care.
And that's a wrap here at Reckoning with Jason Herbert. Guys, thank you so very much to our guest, Julio Capó Jr. Julio, you're amazing. I'm ready for you to come back already. Thank you to our producer, Fletcher Powell, for making this show run. And thank you most of all to all of you for continuing to be here and to support the show and everything that we're doing. We've got a bunch of stuff coming your way soon, so make sure you're subscribing. If you haven't already, make sure you can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram and all the places at Herbert History. And keep on telling your friends. See you later. Ciao for now. Bye.